We've got breaking news in the compound Tirzepatide world. Listen, if you're somebody who's on compound Tirzepatide, you have patients on compound Tirzepatide, you've been worried about what's going on with compound Tirzepatide. Is it going to stay? Is it going to go? We've been following all of the lawsuits, all of the movement by the FDA, everything that's going on with the Trump administration on most favored nations. We've done all this to help you stay on top of it. And there's some breaking news today that we're going to cover. But before we jump into that together today, my ask of you is that you'd hit that like, hit that bell, hit that sub for notifications. If you're watching over on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. About 65% of the viewers of On the Pen are not subscribed to the channel. And it's something that helps us tremendously when it comes to helping other people discover the content. We work day and night on this stuff. I go to sleep thinking about it. I wake up thinking about it. And I do it all so that you can have more competent and confident conversations with your doctor when it comes to treating the chronic disease of obesity. Now, there is breaking news in the world of compound Tirzepatide today. Welcome, Empowered. Welcome by DJ. Welcome, Sue the Dude. Good to have you in here. Thank you for being here. Some breaking news today in that lawsuit that Eli Lilly had brought against Strive Pharmacy. Now, Strive Pharmacy is a compound pharmacy, operates out of Arizona. A lot of people use Strive's compounded GLP-1 medications, and a lawsuit was brought by Eli Lilly basically over the marketing that Strive has done nationwide with their compounded Tirzepatide specifically. And the breaking news from today is that lawsuit has officially been dropped. That's right. The lawsuit has been dismissed. And what I'm going to do is we're going to read through this together, because I really believe that the ruling in this case is a very well thought out ruling by this specific judge in this case. So I just think that it's probably best that we read through this together. Now, again, this is a lawsuit that Eli Lilly brought against Strive Pharmacy, Compounders LLC out of the state of Arizona. Now, this specific lawsuit was brought in Delaware, in the state of Delaware. And so you'll see how that has a critical role to play in all of this. So this is dated today. This is the memorandum opinion from Judge Bibas, B-I-B-A-S, not to be confused with Beavis. This was Judge Bibas. And so let's hear. He's a circuit judge sitting by designation. So I'm going to read this verbatim. Our legal system rewards innovative drug development, not innovative jurisdictional theories. Right off the bat, that's quite the statement. Eli Lilly's complaint has both. It sued Strive, another pharmaceutical company in Delaware, for false and deceptive online advertising, but it does not connect Strive's online ads to Delaware. Even in our digital age, personal jurisdiction has, quote, real limits. And then it cites the Ford Motor Company versus Mont 8th Judicial District Circuit Court 592 U.S. Sorry, I'm going to try to avoid all the shorthands and legal gobbledygook. So I grant Strive's motion to dismiss for lack of personal jurisdiction. So this is section 1. Strive tries to join Eli Lilly in the GLP-1 boom. Now, this is the judge's opinion here, and it's very interesting. And obviously, you can tell that the judge in this case has really read through these complaints, really tried to understand what's going on here, because I feel like this judge has a really good handle on the market. So back to the letter here. The market, and this will all be available, by the way, at obesity.news. I've got an article going up. We're actually just waiting for a check and see if I've got it yet. We're waiting for a comment from Strive Pharmacy on this. So here we're back to the judge's opinion. Strive tries to join Eli Lilly in the GLP-1 boom. Back to the document here. The market for GLP-1 drugs is booming. These drugs target the receptors that make people hungry by stimulating the body's natural GLP-1 hormone. Not exactly correct, but helping them lose weight and control their blood sugar. One such drug is Tirzepatide. Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical giant based in Indiana, developed Tirzepatide to be injected under the skin to treat chronic weight management and sleep apnea. Lilly sells it under two brands, Mounjaro and Zepbound. Developing those drugs was no small feat. Bringing the average drug to market takes more than 10 years and $2.6 billion. Tirzepatide was no exception. It took nearly a decade to invent and complete 37 clinical trials for FDA approval. With the risk of innovation come both reward and responsibility. Lilly is the only seller of FDA-approved Tirzepatide, and it owns all intellectual property associated with that drug. I'm going to take a breath here because I'm trying to find my place here. It's hard to read something on a screen at the same time that you're live streaming here. So back to the document here. It also follows strict manufacturing and testing protocols for quality control, so Lilly expects a return for its troubles. But there is a way around the maze of clinical testing and FDA approval. Compounding pharmacies combine different drugs to create bespoke concoctions. For patients with allergies, this is another standout quote for me in this whole thing. For patients with allergies or unique needs that make FDA-approved medications unsuitable, compounded drugs are a godsend. They can also provide a workaround to shortages of popular drugs if the brand name medication is expensive or in short supply. Compounding pharmacies can often still sell the same molecule, here Tirzepatide, in combination with other ingredients. And because compounding pharmacies serve as adjuncts to local pharmacies and providers, they can ship drugs nationwide. In short, compounding pharmacies can get around intellectual property protections, exploiting valuable gaps in the pharmaceutical market. Strive Compounding Pharmacy fills that gap for GLP-1s. Lilly's brand name Tirzepatide drugs are hard to get. But Arizona-based Strive sells what it calls a personalized combination of Tirzepatide, vitamin B12, and glycine to providers across the nation. Each ingredient has a purpose. Tirzepatide is the coveted GLP-1. B12 reduces nausea, and glycine is an amino acid that helps maintain muscle mass during rapid weight loss. Sales are indirect. Strive advertises on its website and social media. It has no presence in Delaware, nor can it sell directly to Delaware patients. Instead, it partners with local healthcare providers who prescribe GLP-1s. Strive then ships the drugs from its central location to providers and patients across the country. Patients can refill their prescriptions through Strive's website. Otherwise, the website and social media posts advertise across the country. Compounded drugs have compounded risks. They are not FDA approved. They are not subject to the same labeling, testing, or manufacturing requirements as brand name drugs. This makes injuries from compounded drugs both more common and harder to track. These risks, plus the recent boom in demand for GLP-1s, has led governments and consumer protection groups to warn of the dangers inherent in compounded GLP-1 drugs. But Lilly's claim in this case are commercial, not clinical. Lilly alleges that Strive's marketing of customized medications that are specifically designed for one-of-a-kind needs is false and deceptive. In fact, Lilly says Strive sells only one form of Tirzepatide. It does not tailor the drug to individuals. Next, Lilly takes issues with Strive's claims that its products are safer and better for you than ones from Big Pharma. And Lilly claims that Strive's statements that it goes above and beyond regulatory standards are false. Lilly sues Strive for false, misleading, and unfair marketing and trade practices under Delaware's Uniform Deceptive Trade Practices Act and the Lanham Act. Strive moves to dismiss the complaint for lack of personal jurisdiction or else transfer the case to Arizona. Section 2, this court lacks personal jurisdiction over Strive. And this is key to the ruling here. Strive is an Arizona company posting statements on the internet. It also sells drugs in Delaware through providers. Lilly is clear that it does not challenge Strive's drug sales, only its online statements. But Lilly does not connect Strive's internet marketing to Delaware, nor does it allege with reasonable particularity that it may discover requisite contacts. So Lilly must sue Strive elsewhere. A, Strive is not at home in Delaware. Courts must have personal jurisdiction to bind the litigants before it. Personal jurisdiction can be general, covering all claims against those at home in Delaware. Bristol Myers Squibb Company versus Superior Court of California. Or it can be specific, covering only claims that arise out of or relate to an out-of-state defendant's contacts with Delaware, Ford Motor. Strive is not at home in Delaware, and Lilly does not argue that this court has general jurisdiction. That leaves specific personal jurisdiction. B, Strive's online marketing does not arise out of or relate to contacts with Delaware. Specific jurisdiction must be proper under both Delaware long-term statute and the Due Process Clause. U.S. Constitutional Amendment, and then it lists a whole bunch of corresponding cases. The inquiries collapse because Delaware courts read their long-arm statute to extend as far as federal due process allows, giving jurisdiction over causes of action arising from acts connected to the state. So I analyzed them together, accepting Lilly's allegation as true and drawing inferences in its favor. And then he cites Toys R Us, Inc. versus Step 2. Specific personal jurisdiction over an out-of-state company's bad acts comes in two flavors: the traditional minimum contacts test and the effects test. And then it cites some other cases. The latter requires an intentional tort by out-of-state defendant who expressly aimed at its conduct at Delaware. But Strive's allegedly fraudulent marketing posts were not aimed anywhere but the World Wide Web. Lilly never contests that. So the effects test is no help. I'm going to gloss over some more of these listing of some other cases. That leaves the traditional two-pronged test. Strive must purposefully avail itself of the privilege of conducting activities in Delaware, and Lilly's claims must arise out of or relate to Strive's contacts with the forum. Strive is a Delaware licensed pharmacy that sells drugs in the state, so it does purposely avail itself. But Lilly falters at the second prong. Specific personal jurisdiction over Strive's marketing must be based on the relationship among Strive, Delaware, and the online advertisements. So Lilly must plead reasonably particular facts connecting the Strive's online statements to Delaware. Lilly does not plead a strong relationship among Strive, Delaware, and the online marketing statements on its website or in its social media posts to Delaware. To be sure, Lilly can connect Strive to Delaware in the broadest of senses. Strive partners with Delaware healthcare providers who prescribe Strive's drugs. Individuals buy the drugs in the first instance from providers, not Strive, and providers prescribe compounded drugs if there's a shortage or a clinically significant difference between the brand name option and the combo drug. Lilly thinks the prescriptions for Strive's drugs are pretextual, but Strive's drugs and providers' prescriptions practices are not at issue. Lilly makes it painfully clear that, quote, it challenges Strive's claims about its pharmaceutical practice, not the pharmaceutical practice itself. And Lilly pleads no facts connecting Delaware and the drugs to the online statement. I hope that you're still hanging with me here. We got just a few more pages. Compared to the allegations to those in Hassan, a case that it's referencing, there, a Pennsylvanian claimed that Papa John's had unlawfully wiretapped him when he went online to papajohns.com to order pizza. Papa John's operates nearly 100 stores in Pennsylvania, lets customers order pizza from Pennsylvania stores through its website, and regularly markets in the state. It even shelled out for a Super Bowl commercial during Philadelphia Eagles game. But the offending website was available nationwide and had no specific connection to this or strong relationship to Pennsylvania. It was not enough that the website also connected users to Pennsylvania restaurants. The website was the source of the injury, and the website had no link to Pennsylvania, who had connecting GLP-1 law to Papa John's Pizza Today on their bingo card. Not me. Going back to the document, next contrast this case with the Ford Motor Company. Because Ford had relentlessly advertised its products in Montana and Minnesota, those forums had jurisdiction over the injuries caused by those same products. But here, Lilly alleges that lawful shipping of the product without an alleged injury creates jurisdiction over online advertisements posted out of state without any facts connecting to the ads to Delaware. That does not square with federalism. Specific personal jurisdiction may not come a loose, spurious form of general jurisdiction. Lilly resists the conclusion two ways, but both fall short. First, Lilly tries to distinguish Hassan. There it insists the only, quote, the only relevant conduct was the availability of the website, where here the, quote, relationship between Delaware Strive's conduct and Lilly's harm, quote, is stronger. Hassan, in turn, relied on another case, HEP, which dismissed right of publicity suit against two websites, Reddit and Imgur, for lack of personal jurisdiction. But this effort, it fails. The plaintiff Hassan went to the website to order food from a nearby carryout location in Pennsylvania, and the offending images were visible in the forum state. These cases teach that allegedly tortious content on the national website of a business doing commerce in a forum is not enough targeting to support personal jurisdiction. I apply that teaching here. Second, Lilly points to Zippo manufacturer. Who loves a good Zippo? Zippo versus Zippo.com. But Zippo may no longer be good law. In any event, it is inept and a threshold matter. Zippo held that knowing and repeated dealings with non-residents through a website gave jurisdiction over a trademark infringement suit against the website. But that sliding scale approach to specific jurisdiction was rejected by the Supreme Court, who had connecting GLP-1s to Zippo lighters today. Even if Zippo remains an accurate application of the law, the case's facts show intentional targeting of the forum. The website at issue contracted with Pennsylvania internet access providers to sell to Pennsylvanians. Contrast that with Hassan, wherein large forum sales through the website did not create personal jurisdiction over a national website when the website was the source of the cause of the action. Lilly's claims are much closer to Hassan than to Zippo's, not enough to support specific jurisdiction. In sum, a public website or social media post not targeted at a state or commercial activity does not equal strong connection and must plead a strong relationship between Strive statements in Delaware by promotion of its website in Delaware. Section 3, there's no need for jurisdictional discovery. Lilly asks that even if it is not pleaded personal jurisdiction, to have a chance to conduct jurisdictional discovery. Courts grant jurisdictional discovery if there are reasonably particular factual allegations suggesting that discovery could identify requisite contacts. I decline to grant jurisdictional discovery because it would not help Lilly. Lilly has not pleaded any facts connecting to the ads to the state and the unsolved factual disputes it identifies relate to Strive's general contacts with Delaware, which are not at issue. In that same way, the screenshots from Strive's national website and social media accounts are insufficient to support a request for jurisdictional discovery. Eli Lilly loves screenshots, don't they? Last case that we were covering, it was screenshots from Reddit. Now it's screenshots from the Strive website. Doesn't seem like that holds up too well. They might want to adjust their strategy on that one. Eli Lilly has not pleaded that Strive targeted Delaware with its social media post or website. Personal jurisdiction requires evidence of a real relationship. That relationship says Strive is in Arizona, but Lilly equivocates on whether it would support transfer there. But plus, Lilly may still be able to connect Strive's advertising to Delaware, so I dismiss complaint without prejudice to let Lilly either allege more jurisdictional facts or sue Strive in Arizona. That was a mouthful. All right, so essentially what do we have here? Again, I am no more a lawyer than I am an endocrinologist, and I always joke I'm a pretendocrinologist. I just play one on the internet. Now, what's going on here? So Lilly brings a lawsuit against Strive Compounding Pharmacy. They basically say, we don't like the way you're advertising. We don't like some of the things that you're saying. And it sounds like in this case, the judge is saying, yeah, you might have a point, but it doesn't tie to Delaware. There's no jurisdiction here to be suing Strive in Delaware. And ultimately, at the end of the day, the judge dismisses the lawsuit and says, if you want to sue Strive, sue them in Arizona. Also, baked into all this was the judge denying discovery, right? So where the lawyers could go in and poke and prod through, confidential information of Strive Pharmacy, the judge says, no, you don't get access to that. So on two big counts today, you see that Lilly really got slapped down here. And it's fascinating to me. All this lawfare that's going on to shut down compounding is a fascinating thing to watch and to try to learn about and untangle. But it really seems like every point that big pharma comes after these compounders, they get slapped down. It really seems like technicality issues. It seems like things that, at least in my simple mind and my corner of the world, seem like things that lawyers for some of the largest companies in the world would have well figured out long before they brought this into play. But this could just be my misunderstanding of the law and the judicial system in the country. But it seems like this would be stuff that they would have pretty well figured out, doesn't it? To you, am I alone on that? Doesn't it seem kind of interesting that at every turn, the judge seems to be slapping down the Eli Lilly lawyers and the Novo Nordisk lawyers, saying like, you can't do that here. This doesn't belong in this court. It's just very interesting to kind of see this happen and to see it kind of repeat and happen over and over and over again. So fascinating stuff today. The breaking news here is that the lawsuit against Strive Compounding Pharmacy brought in Delaware court by Eli Lilly has been struck down. It has been dismissed, with the judge basically saying, if you want to sue Strive, you got to go to the state of Arizona and sue them there where they are. So will we see poll time? Will we see Lilly bring a lawsuit in the state of Arizona? Put lawsuit in the chat if you think this will happen. I would definitely put my money on this is not the end of the story for Lilly. We just saw them refile. What was it in the Willow case? I can't keep all these straight. I feel like every day we're talking about another lawsuit. But the lawsuit that Lilly had brought against Willow Health was also, I believe, what's the word I'm looking for? Dropped. Or not dropped, but the judge basically ruled to dismiss that case as well. Dismiss is the word I was looking for. And you see Lilly has refiled, right? So it's interesting. We'll see how this all plays out. But for now, it seems like every turn that Big Pharma goes to try to shut down compound medication, they fail pretty miserably. They seem to fail pretty miserably at that. So that is the news today. Appreciate you all hanging with me. If you've got questions, go ahead and throw them in the comment section. Here, I'm just kind of reading through these. It's good to see you all here. Thanks for hanging out with me. Good to see you. Jen says Lilly needs to stop suing everybody and just lower their dang prices. I do think that we will see something on the price of GLP-1s. And when we talk about enforcement over compounds, this is something that I'm paying attention to right now that I don't really know anybody else is talking about. But one of the things that I've been saying for a few months is, with this most favored nation stuff and the Trump administration trying to lower the price of these medications, will we actually see the big pharmaceutical companies sort of twist the arm of the Trump administration to get enforcement against these compounders by the FDA? To the extent that the FDA can enforce anything against them. Most 503As, not most, but state 503As are governed by their state pharmacy boards. 503Bs are governed by the CGMP and the FDA. So there is some FDA oversight. What their jurisdiction is, I don't know, but I think you're going to see some arm twisting, like, hey, you want us to bring the price of this down? Let's see some enforcement against compound medications. Debbie, welcome. Good to see you here, Debbie. Thank you for all your comments on all of the videos that we do, on the Substack articles. Your comments are such a bright spot in my day. So for everyone who leaves comments, I definitely don't have time to respond to all of them, but I see you and I thank you. The comments that you leave on these videos, the thumbs up, the subscribes, all the things that you do are helping to get the word out on what we're doing at On the Pen. And I could not do this without you. So thank you, Debbie, who says their failed attempts are hurting their credibility. I tend to agree with that. Definitely not winning anything in the court of public opinion. I'm not sure that pharmaceutical companies, to be honest with you, this day and age, like, I'm not sure Big Pharma is all too concerned about their public relations, right? And to be honest with you, I think, for most pharmaceutical companies that are out there, they really don't view patients as their customers in a meaningful way. They view PBMs as their customers, because the PBMs are the ones who control the formularies. They're the ones that they sell the drugs to. Raz says, this guy seems to be more and more in the pro Big Pharma and more against compounding. I assume you're talking about me, Raz. I think that let's hear from you in the comments. Is this guy more and more pro Big Pharma or more and more against compounding? I'm curious to hear from you, because Raz sounds like somebody who doesn't pay a lot of attention to what we do at On the Pen. So the dude says, I don't see that, Raz. Debbie says, you brighten my day up. Well, thank you. Thank you, Debbie. I appreciate that. Melissa says, what telehealths use Strive Pharmacy? A lot of them do. I know that Shed RX is a big user of Strive Pharmacy, but I think a lot of them do. I think a lot of them use Strive Pharmacy. They're a big compounder. I'm not sure you've been around very long, says Debbie. Yeah, thank you, Debbie. That's what I'm saying. Anna, hi, how are you today? Good to see you. Sue the Dude says Dave's in the pocket of big pig blood. I'm in the pocket of big Gila monster. Big Gila monster. Been around long enough. He seems to be against 503As. Rah, 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 rah. Raz, I think all you have to do is a little bit of basic education, right? 503As, there's nothing intrinsically wrong with the 503A. What's challenging when you have a community of over 150,000 people and everybody's asking you for blanket advice, right? It's hard to get into nuance on social media, right? But 503As are governed by their state pharmacy boards, which means that the level of inspection, the level of quality is all going to be relative to the state in which it operates. So there's no federal standardized, inspection that they have to go through. 503Bs are different because there are FDA there is FDA oversight via the current goods and manufacturing process, which 503Bs have to comply with. And that goes all the way to, the sourcing of the active pharmaceutical ingredient. So when you talk about quality, and you're giving generalized advice, I think that 503Bs are definitely easier to talk about for somebody with a platform like myself. But I am never somebody who knocks any form of medication. I believe people deserve access to treatment. Lavender Sky is another user of Strive. You said Mochi, I believe, uses them. Dave, he is new here and not truly on the pen with us. Thanks, Shelly, on the jab. I appreciate that. I think he can be. We gotta explain. We just got to explain to people. We got to be patient with people sometimes. It's definitely not big pharma. I appreciate that. Iowa boys. That's right. Any new meds coming out soon? Yeah. The next med to hit the market will likely be one of two, high dose Wegovy or orforglipron, both oral medications that should be coming at the beginning of 2026. Shortly thereafter, mid to late 2026, we should see CagriSema, the next injectable from Novo Nordisk. It's an amylin agonist coupled with semaglutide. And so that one gets weight loss very close to tirzepatide. Anna's saying hi to Sue. Sue's saying hi to Anna. How's your brother? Anna, hope your brother's doing well. Shelly said, Dave, you've never been team any med, pharma company or delivery method. You are GLP-1 neutral. And if Raz has been listening, he would know that. Thank you for that. That's what I always say. I'm not pharma-y enough for the pharma people, and I'm not compound-y enough for the compounders, because I just give you the news. Because my goal is not to make you believe one way or the other. My goal is to educate you so you and your doctor can come up with your own beliefs, and so that you get better care. That's all I care about. So when there's industry involved, listen, like even today, I'm getting messages from people in big compounding that are condescending about my content. Listen, I don't really care what you think about my content. I care about the people that follow me. That's why I wake up every morning and obsess about this stuff, so that people can get the news and have better conversations with their doctor. I'm sorry that doesn't always line up with your business goals, but it never will, because people always come first and on the pen. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Sue, he's doing amazing. Anna's brother's doing amazing. That's great. Raz said, don't get it confused. I never said OTP doesn't do good work. Appreciate that, Raz. And I hope that my explanation helped you understand where we're coming from a little bit. What's Eli Lilly's agenda? Are they wanting to control the floor of GLP-1s indefinitely? I mean, Lilly's agenda, I think, is part of the broader agenda of Big Pharma, and that's to protect the sanctity of patents. And their argument would be that it's innovation, right? But I think we have to strike a better balance in the United States here between innovation. We don't want to stifle innovation, but all the innovation in the world means nothing if people can't access the innovation. So that's the balance that we have to find, right? And we're not there. Too many people are boxed out, not only from GLP-1 medications. What I love about GLP-1s and what I love about the obesity community is that these topics are they're forcing the issue, right? Like, we're having big conversations about the cost of prescription drugs right now, and the pressure and people's feet are being held to the fire on it, because people expect access to these medications through Medicare. There are over 100 million people living with the disease of obesity, well over 100 million people more living with diabetes in the United States. They need access to GLP-1s, but they're too expensive and they're too inaccessible. And so it's forcing the issue. And we are now seeing at the federal level and the state level, we're seeing things that are happening in a meaningful way. We're seeing PBM reform. In my own state of Iowa, we passed meaningful PBM reform legislation this year. PBMs being the middleman between you and your insurance formulary that tells you what medications you can get. There's meaningful things happening, and I believe a lot of that is being driven by the demand for GLP-1 medications. Fit Flavor Fun, Allie's in the house. Thank you for being here, Allie. It's good to see you. Michael from LinkedIn. We got a LinkedIn 503A. We'll never like you say anything bad. We'll never like you say anything bad about them. But like you said, 503B is easier and more compliant. You should elaborate on batch sizes, quality, API sourcing, et cetera, the loopholes that 503A are operating in. So 503As, I think like literally for 2 years, I've been trying to educate people on the difference between the compound pharmacies. You have 503As, and I have no problem with 503As. Strive is a 503A pharmacy. But there's like not all are created equal, right? And you could say the same about 503Bs, but I like the standardized federal oversight of the 503Bs, because then we're looking at things like the source of the active pharmaceutical ingredient in these drugs. And when you talk to like really respected obesity physicians like that hate compounds, like there are a lot of people that I respect that hate compounds, and I respect them because they are the reason that we even have these medications in the first place, because they were the doctors 20, 30, 40 years ago that were clanging the drum saying obesity is a disease. We have to start treating it as such as a scientific community. They started organizations like the Obesity Society, like the Obesity Action Coalition, like Obesity Medicine Association. These are the doctors that believed that people were worthy of treatment, that the obesity was a disease worthy of treatment. And without them fighting the battles that they fought, we have no medicine to talk about at all. But they hate compounds. And part of the reason they hate compounds is because there's not a lot of transparency in the form of where it's coming from. And I think a lot more of them would feel comfortable, because I talk to all these people, again, not compoundy enough for the compounders, not pharma enough for the pharmacy people, but I listen to everybody in all perspectives. And what they want to know is, where's it coming from and how do we know that it's safe? And so I think those are the big questions. And for that reason, I think 503Bs are just a little bit easier to talk about, because the FDA requires that they get their active pharmaceutical ingredients from FDA approved facilities. I think this green list, manufacturing green list of imports of API is a really great move to help ensure that even 503As have some standardized, some standardized things to follow when it comes to how they're sourcing their active pharmaceutical ingredient. But I'm digressing a little bit. Isabel said, love OTP. Thank you for the advocacy. I appreciate it. Thank you, Sue and Anna. Talk about 503A loopholes and manufacturing gray areas there. So 503As, again, because they're operating under their state pharmacy board and not federal oversight, there's just a wide variety of things that 503As can do and can get away with that you're not going to get away with FDA scrutiny. There are, like, for instance, with 503Bs, there is reporting on adverse events required of them. I don't think a lot of people know that. You don't have that with 503As. You have that with 503Bs. Sorry if I say these backwards at certain times, but there definitely are loopholes and things that are easier to get around, shortcuts that can be taken. And unless you're dealing with a company that is credible, that has proven themselves in the industry, there are a lot of fly-by-night operations popping up overnight to try to make a buck that are partnering with, like little, med spa clinics that are, some even sourcing gray market peptides and reconstituting those. I think this is just a lot of variance, right? And it makes it hard when you have a platform to talk about those. But Strive Compound Pharmacy is an extremely trustworthy 503A pharmacy doing amazing work, very transparent company, very high integrity company, but they're not all created equal, right? So what we talk about a lot. Thank you, Anna. I appreciate that. They're forcing Lilly to take unprecedented actions. I think they're forcing Lilly to take unprecedented actions, but I think also compounders have created a free market, for drugs that, normally wouldn't have competition. And I think it's driven down the cost. Part of the reason we have $500 Zepbound vials is because there's $300 compounds. Right. And I really believe that that's an area where compounders deserve a lot of credit. There's so many people who are getting access to branded medication right now. Like, I think everybody would prefer to be on branded medication if they could tolerate it and if they could afford it. Right. But $500 is still a lot of money. But the only reason we even have $500 Zepbound and $500 Wegovy is because of the competition brought by compounders. Right. So whether you like it or not, agree with it or not, is really besides the point. They're the reason that more people have access today. And I think they deserve their flowers for that. Charles says, feels like Big Pharma is trying to bleed the compounders dry with legal fees. Then their legal team will come with a sledgehammer and win that case. All these small cases are like covering the gaps. Could be. It could be. There's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me when it comes to the legality of all this stuff. We just try to cover what is meaningful for patients. Michael said, I'd love to be a guest on the show. What you're doing matters and is underappreciated. Let's connect. Awesome. Michael, send me a message over on LinkedIn. I appreciate it. I'll respond to your message if you send it over there. You can also send an email to Dave@onthepen.com. Only GLP-1 I ever took that made me sick came from a 503B. 503A and name brand have brought me great success. Curious, Debbie, when you say that, 503Bs made essential copies of the brand name medication. So 503As, if you're taking them and they brought you great success and they haven't made you sick, perhaps it's because you got the B12 or some sort of mixture with it that helped you with those side effects, which I believe is the spirit of 503As to begin with. Anna says hi to Debbie. Anna says hi, or Debbie says hi to Anna. Good to see you all. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you joining me today. 493 people watching across the different platforms. Wherever you're watching, hit the thumbs up, retweet, share this in the forums that you're in. I really, really appreciate all that you do for me. Make sure if you're not subscribed, you hit the subscribe button wherever you're watching. We can't do this without you. And then if you want to jump over to obesity.news, that's where you're going to find my Substack. We got an article coming up on this here very shortly. Let's see if I got a quote here. I do have a quote from Strive Pharmacy. Perfect timing. I'm going to share a quote from you from Strive Pharmacy in response to this lawsuit. Okay. Here we go. Quote. This from Zachary Shurtleff, who is the chief marketing officer over there at Strive Pharmacy. Says, we're pleased to announce that Lilly's case against Strive was dismissed today after the judge rejected Lilly's attempt to forum shop and recognized that Lilly had no basis for forcing Strive to defend itself on the other side of the country. That's amazing. That's amazing. We're even more pleased that in reaching that decision, the judge recognized that what we all already know in this industry is that for patients with allergies or unique needs that make FDA-approved medications unsuitable, compounded drugs are a godsend. We are not sure what Lilly's next move is, but we know what ours will be. Fighting for the right of patients to keep their access to compounded drugs. Let's do this. Great stuff. Thank you for the quote there from Strive Pharmacy. We'll drop that in the article over at obesity.news. Obesity.news. Thank you for those of you who are hitting the like button, and thank you, Allie, for reminding people. Woodkirky, I got to throw you up here because I love Woodkirky and all the comments that he leaves across the social media platforms. Hopefully, MFN does lower our prices. Not sold on it. I think it's a perfect excuse to raise prices worldwide. It could be that. It could be smoke and mirrors. That's always an option, right? I hope that it does meaningfully. What I'm hoping does not happen. Okay, so for me on MFN, one of the worst case scenarios would be that Lilly finds a way to work with the Trump administration to spin what they already did with lowering the cost of direct-to-consumer Zepbound and played that off as a something that somehow new and made this more affordable. And then they also get enforcement against compounders. That would be a worst case scenario for patients, a worst case scenario for accessibility. That is what I hope does not happen. What I'm more hopeful that will happen is that we will see some meaningful price reductions in these medications, that more people will get access to the branded meds, and that those who don't have the privilege of getting access to the branded meds for whatever reason, they can't tolerate it, they can't afford it, whatever, that they will still be able to access their compounds in a meaningful way. Debbie said, very grateful for all you do, Dave. Wouldn't know news or have met any of my friends in this community without you. Debbie, I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Melissa says, I agree with 503A is amazing with B6, and I feel stronger than regular MJ. That's great. I'm glad for you. Listen, patients getting treatment for the chronic disease of obesity is what we care about. If that matters to you, hit the subscribe button, like, save, share, send to a friend, do all the things. Folks, until next time, thank you for being with me today. I appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll catch you on the next one.